You're listening right now to Eric Edholm on with us. He is the lead draft writer for NFL.com. And Eric, you're going to be making a lot of these, but you had your first mock draft that just came out in early February. And not only did you have Jalen Carter going first overall to the Bears, you also had Tyree Wilson going number 5 to the Seahawks, Texas Tech edge. Tell me what you saw from Tyree that made you think he could be a fit for Seattle.
Yeah, another player who's definitely been on NFL scout radars for quite a while. I mean, I would say among the senior prospects who, coming into the season, I would say he would have been among the highest graded. It was a little bit of a surprise he didn't come out. There was still plenty of stuff he could have worked on. He can be a little stiff at times, but you just don't draw him up too much better than 6'6", 275 pounds, massive wingspan. Some pass rush ability, some edge setting ability. He can take on those blocks and shed them and dispatch guys pretty easily. I would say, could still get stronger too, which is incredible. He's a big kid, but I think there's even still some strength and athletic development that could happen. But he's a senior, so he's a little bit on the older age of that spectrum where you usually do that growth. And he got lost a little bit in the shuffle playing in the Big 12, all those, 44, 41 games and stuff. But the people who've watched him see a player who they think is worthy of being taken in the, top 10 or 15 picks. Now, how he works out at the combine could ultimately decide, does he go 5th or does he go 15th? And obviously the medical stuff and everything. But, yeah, I see a player with some chops. I think he's going to do fine in the NFL.
Now, I'm a former receiver, so I got to ask you about these pass catchers, man. You got your names, right? Your household names. You got Quentin over there at TCU, Jordan Addison, Jackson, Zay Flowers. Who's a guy that you feel isn't on everyone's radar, later on gets drafted, that can make an impact once he arrives?
Yeah, so I just came back from the Senior Bowl, speaking of Stanford, and there was a kid there that, truthfully, I didn't know a whole lot about. I mean, I'd watched him, but I hadn't scouted him. I hadn't talked to anybody around the league on him. But Michael Wilson was one of the best receivers at the Senior Bowl, and credit to Jim Nagy and his staff for identifying that as another player there. Saddled by injuries the last couple of years, some bad luck. Obviously, the situation on the team wasn't that great, and those things matter. So a healthy receiver goes down and looks, again, another former elite high school recruit who, you'd say never really quite fulfilled their potential in college, but looked really good there. So he's one I'm going to go back on and do a little extra work. But I think the biggest mystery, boom or bust, could be a hit, could be a swing and a miss, is probably Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. And obviously Pac-12 fans will remember the Rose Bowl and when he went off against Utah and had an unbelievable game, 300 whatever yards. But this past season only played, I think, 3 games. So another question where you have to, be kind, rewind, and look at the old tape and see what you saw prior to this season and try not to let that kind of, color your view of what you think of them. So, it's a good receiver class. I wouldn't say it's a great one, but I think, we've been spoiled a little bit. The last 4 or 5 years have been unbelievable in terms of talent.
2 quick ones here for me, Eric, and then we'll let you go. First, if they do take an outside linebacker or anything like that at number 5, guess what? They still have number 20. It's pretty nice to have the Seahawks have 2 picks. They're going to need to add to the interior of the defensive line behind Carter, behind Anderson. Who are some good defensive tackles or defensive linemen we could see? Maybe just 1 or 2 names that might be mid to late first rounders.
Yeah, it's not a great year at that position, but I think it's a good year, and I think it's going to be fine in that range. If we get good help back on Brian Bresee from Clemson, he would probably be my, off the top of my head, I would say probably by defensive tackle 2 behind Carter. Some say he's a little overhyped. He's had a tragic story with his family and some, things that they've had to deal with, and then the loss of his sister. He's come a long way, and he's an inspirational kid. So there are some scouts out there who believe that maybe the feel-good story has glossed over some of his weaknesses, but I see a guy who's, all-out effort, versatile, can play a few spots there. The question is there another defensive tackle worth taking in that area? Keanu Benton, who was down at the Senior Bowl, I thought played really well. Late first, I don't know, but I would say there are a few that could move up to that range, I would say.
And then just a last one. This doesn't have to do with the Seahawks because the answer will be someone who's probably not available at number 5. When you look at all the picks in this draft, especially those guys that are going to go in the top 5, in the top 10, is there any one player where you look at him and you think this is the surest bet in the draft? Like, I am so excited to see what this guy can do.
It probably has to be one of those 2 defensive players, I think, off the top of my head. I mean, Will Anderson, I don't know if he's going to be Von Miller, but that's the kind of player I see when I watch him. I mean, that type of versatility, that type of explosive pass rush ability. And then just for a good laugh, like if you're bored at work or something like that, don't let your boss see it, but turn on the high school basketball tape of Jalen Carter dunking. I mean,
okay.
Tell me he doesn't look like Zion Williamson. Like, that's the player I looked at. I'm like, whoa. So he is a special athlete. He doesn't always turn it on. That's the only thing I would say about him. But when he cranks it up, he's special.
Love it. He is Eric Edholm, NFL.com's lead draft writer. His first mock draft 1.0, is out right now. I'm sure that Eric will have other ones out. He also covers plenty more than just the draft. Make sure you're reading his work at NFL.com. Thanks so much, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Have a great day, you guys. See you. Thank you.
You too.